Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 407 to 408 for the 6th to 7th of April 2023. And let's start off with the most look forward stuff by most people is the Battle of Bakhmut. So in the Battle of Bakhmut, a lot of things has happened over the past 48 hours with the Russian forces making a lot of progress over this entire region. And the Russian forces, in short, had actually arrived at the railway line in the northern half of the center of Bakhmut, and the entire salient in the south has been closed. The Ukrainian forces have given up the entire area here. It has not been acknowledged by the Ukrainian sources just yet, but based on neutral and Russian sources, the entire Ukrainian salient has been over as the Ukrainian forces have withdrawn away from the salient, and the entire region here has also been largely lost as the Ukrainians wanted to form a new line of defense along the railway line. And going to the details, we have information that the fighting is now near the railway line according to SITREP maps, as the Russian forces have come to this area here as they push into the railway line, and they are just now at the northern edge of the Bakhmut railway station. And this area, okay, I think let's zoom out a bit. So the Russian forces also have captured the Bakhmut prison. This is I believe this is the Bakhmut prison, and the Russian forces have also pushed through. And in fact, SITREP maps actually map it in this way, that they have already have control over this part of the railway line, which actually makes no sense. So the information, as you can see, coming from SITREP maps. In the north of it, SITREP maps reported the fighting has arrived here in this area on the 6th. On the 7th, this is corroborated by Raiba. As they mentioned, the fighting is along the Kovalska Street, which is actually this street here. Yeah. So in the south, there is fighting reported at the Kobostov Street, or rather, at the edge of the Bakhmut railway station. As you can see, this is the Bakhmut railway station, and the Russian forces actually have pushed very, very close. They're basically just at the outskirts, and with the fall of the prison in the north, I don't think this railway station will be able to be held, as the Russian forces will be pushing down south from the north of the Bakhmut. So, of the Bakhmut train station. In the south, the entire salient have been closed, with the Ukrainian forces largely have, according to pro-Russian sources and neutral sources, the front line have largely changed to like this. As the Russian forces continue to push in this area, fighting is being reported along Velysia Pashina Street, and according to Deep State UA, and that was information that was 2 days ago. So this information 2 days ago was also by Deep State UA, as the salient was previously something like this. It was even bigger previously. So the salient has been getting smaller and smaller, and based on the latest information by SITREP maps, the neutral source, fighting is now around the area of Avangard Stadium. And in fact, in their latest information, the Russian forces have captured the entire of the stadium now, as the Russian forces is now at it past the stadium, fighting northward from the stadium region and the market region. So it looks like the Ukrainians will not hold this position at all anymore. I believe that we'll probably see the collapse of this entire area, with the Ukrainian forces falling back to the western part of the railway line within the next 24 hours. Because this situation is no good. But as they fall back to the other line, this is likely to be the next line of defense. So maybe the Ukrainians will be able to hold it better on the other side. But the situation now in Bakhmut is that the Russians are using very heavy air bombs, and also the TOS-1A. The thing about TOS-1A is that if they fire, for example, fire the TOS-1A, the missiles hit this area here in this way, all the forces within this region will be dead. Like, they will all literally die, or they will be heavily and severely injured to the point where they are not combat effective. So as a result, the Russian forces, after clearing up, shelling them, they'll be able to actually just walk in into this area easily, which is probably the reason why we are seeing such fast advances. But of course, this is just my projections. This is just what I think is happening, because the speed of the collapse of the Ukrainian lines and the Russian takeover of the Ukrainian positions is just way too fast. The only way I can explain it is that the Russians are just bombing the hell out of the Ukrainian positions, where they just unable to hold the position at all. So, and then the Russian forces immediately take over the positions where there was bombed in a typical NATO US style combined arms operation. So yeah, this is what I think is happening. If not, it's very hard to explain how the Ukrainians actually lost positions this quickly. And in the southwest, we have latest information of the Russian forces reaching the Chakhovskogo Street, which is actually this highway moving towards Konstantinivka. So the latest information, this actually information is coming just today, where the pro-Russian source Kovenko reported that they have broke through the highway T0504, and Surya Maps also follow up with information corroborating this with the capture of the school here. I think there's another school here, and they captured the post office. So so that's the situation. So reinforcement was reported on the 7th of April to hold this position on the Ukrainian side, according to pro-Russian source Ryba. However, the collapse of the loss of this position probably suggests that if the reinforcement was a reaction to the Russian push in this area here, and however they seemingly unable to hold the line. So moving to the northern side, we have the Russian forces capturing more ground around the Rose Alley. Previously, the lines was something like this, and the Russian forces have pushed further south, capturing more buildings around this area here. Fighting is reported around the Zelena Street, which is actually this street here, as the Russian forces continue to push along this street, wrong color, along this street, and probably they are going to bypass the entire area here. By the look of it, it seems like they're going to go around, go along this street, along the edge of the city, and probably going to go and form up the straight line with the border or the front line along the Kromove region. Might be what's happening. And let's see how this goes. I'm not too sure if how the Ukrainians will be reacting. I haven't really seen much of Ukrainian reactions, like for example doing a counter attack against the Russian forces. I haven't really read anything about this. We did have reinforcement reported at the western part of Bakhmut. So I have a previous report which covers most of these updates on the DPA main channel. To check it out. And one of the significant information coming out from the WAGNER group or the Wagner group is that this is the next line of defense by the Ukrainians, and if this line collapses, then it will be along this high-rise building. This will be the last stand, and if this last stand falls, then the Ukrainians effectively entirely lost Bakhmut. So there's basically two more lines of defense for the Ukrainians. Outside of Bakhmut city itself, we have fighting reported at Ivaniske, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 7th, and there is also fighting reported near the highway, according to Ryba, as I quote, the southwest fighting continues in the area of the highway to Konstantinivka and on the outskirts of Krasnoye. But this can also be read as the fighting is actually here rather than here. So my interpretation at this moment is just going to be this one, but take it with a pinch of salt. Maybe they are just mentioning this area here. So it might be just here rather than here. So further up north, we have fighting reported east of Avdiivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 7th, over the past 24 hours. And fighting is reported at Avdiivka on the 6th and on the 7th, with the Russian forces likely to be continued to be pushing in this direction, in this way. So far, I still feel that the attack on Avdiivka is just a distraction. It's just a diversionary attempt, rather than a real attempt to capture the village. Somehow, this is just a feeling I get. Then further up north, there is fighting reported at Orikhovo-Vasilievka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and Raiba, as they continue to be attacking this village here. Similarly, the lines are holding for the Ukrainian side. And further south in the Bakhmut Front, we have fighting reported towards Bilahora, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 6th. And RV Koemko repeated this information on the 7th. So maybe there is some push in this area here by the Russian forces for some reasons. And that's all from the Bakhmut Front. And the next area we shall go to is the Marinka region. Why? Because there was a Russian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Marinka. This is actually caught on video that the Russian aircraft, attack aircraft, the second aircraft in the wing of two aircraft got shot down. And in this area here, the Russian Defense Ministry by the Yoke Group reported that the Ukrainians actually tried to do a counter-attack. And it's just a small group, it's just a squad or two. They was engaging the Russian forces. However, this attack did not work out. And then but mainly the fighting here is still on the Russian side, where the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported 13 attacks on the 6th of April, and then 10 more. I think there was a 10 more attack. Let me see. This is. Let me see. Yeah, then there was fighting reported on the 7th. There was actually 10 attacks reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. I did not list it here. This is the Russian Defense Ministry's report of them doing the offensive operation at Marinka. At Vuhledar itself, there, as you can see, there's 10 enemy attacks that was reported at Marinka. At Vuhledar, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported the Russians are attacking on the 7th. So the push here remains the same. It's not very significant. It's just very low intensity skirmish. Low intensity skirmish as far as I can tell. Shelling is being reported at Novo-Mikhailivka on the 7th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and there is shelling reported at Vuhledar on the 6th and on the 7th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The Ukrainians are reportedly attacking on the 6th at Mikhailivsk, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Probably in this attempt, the attack might not be very big. The attack has been foiled. This continues to be part of the huge number of Ukrainian probing attacks across all front lines. And the next one is actually just nearby. As we go into the Avdiivka Front as part of the Donetsk Front and fighting, the Ukrainian probing attack was reported at Vodian on the 6th. There is actually no probing attack reported on the 7th. So there's something very interesting. It looks like they might have abandoned all the probing attacks. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the leak of the NATO US Ukraine documents. The probing attacks have stopped on the 7th. I didn't see any report of probing attacks on the 7th by the Ukrainian side. Largely the Russians are still on the offensive in this area, with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Siversk on the 6th and on the 7th. And the fighting is also reported at Pervomaysk, similarly by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Raiba did report fighting. This is actually, I actually pasted in the wrong place. That is actually Marinka. Yeah, so at Pervomaysk. Let me move this information over here. I pasted in the wrong place. Yeah, and the northern part of the Avdiivka Front, we have fighting reported at Novokalinove on the 6th and on the 7th. Information again by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There is a geolocation by Deep State UA of the Russian forces at this position here. And if the Russians are at this position, obviously the Ukrainians can't be here or here, right? This is in the middle of the field, so the Ukrainian position is likely to be along the forest line, and this is actually a concession by the pro-Ukrainian source that the Russians actually have more control of the ground that they previously alluded to. So yeah, so which is also why it's important to cover both sides, you know, because the Ukrainian sources like Deep State UA, which is very accurate, are not likely to always be 100% correct. So which is for those that are new to this channel, this is the Ukrainian map, this is the Russian map. There's actually two mapping on the DPA's mapping, and if you want access to this mapping, you can go to Patreon, the Patreon, Coffee, or locals. You have to subscribe to the $10 per month, and then you will get access to this mapping. And but Patreon probably is one of the easier ones to use, I guess. And yeah, for those that don't want to pay money, you can get the free version on the defensepoliticsradio.com/Ukraine, but that map is very unupdated. I will update only occasionally, so that is just to show that to prove to you that all this information is actually all sourced. So moving on to the next area, we go to the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, we have the Ukrainians probing attack on the 6th, as I mentioned before. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry Center Group of Forces. And the attack, of course, did not work out because these are all probing attacks. Shelling is being reported on the 6th. I believe this is actually the same information. Reportedly, flamethrowers, the heavy flamethrower system, the TOS-1A, has been being used in this area here. Fighting is then reported on the 7th, according to the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, in the south of Dibrova, which means the Russian forces are pushing south in this area here, after shelling being done a lot around the area of Dibrova. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry simply reported fighting in the area of Kreminna. The next day, they reported that the fighting is in the area of Siversk Forestry. So basically, it's the same thing. Kreminna is here. This is Kreminna. However, the front line is nowhere near Kreminna. The front line is actually here. This is actually confirmed by geolocation of Russian forces, Ukrainian forces on the front line. So this is definitely for sure the front line is actually in this area here. So it's nowhere near Kreminna. So but this is just how the Ukrainian Defense Ministry sometimes report their report, to make it sound a bit nearer to Kreminna than actually it is. So as I mentioned, front line is geolocated at this position according to Deep State UA, and they in this footage they see Russian movements. They call it strange again. Every time the Russians do something that seems to be suggesting that they are doing pretty well, they call it strange. Lately they call it the UR-77 meteorite calmly moved to the positions of the Ukrainians and then release a charge directly at them. So basically what the meteorite, the UR-77, is actually something like so they actually fires across a string of explosive with a lot of explosive along the entire line. And then what it does is that they will actually blow up a line that destroys any mining or defenses or trenches or troops, which then the Russian forces can actually follow this entire line and break through. This is the purpose of this artillery system. It's actually a short-range artillery system, and this actually contains very high explosive. They actually can destroy trench lines, and any mining around that line will be entirely destroyed, allowing the breakthrough. The first time I saw the footage was actually on Twitter. The pro-Ukrainian people say that it was actually stolen, because the Ukrainians do not actually have this equipment. They say that it was actually one of those equipments that the Russians abandoned and taken over by the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians use it on the Russians. This was the story that I seen on Twitter. So apparently Deep State UA say that it's actually Russian. So yeah, parallel universe. And the but all on the Ukrainian side. On the Siversk Front, south of the Kreminna Front, there is fighting reported at Bakhmut on the 7th, and fighting at Sperne on the 6th. So the attack doesn't seem very sustained. There's attack in the south of Sperne, north of Bakhmut, but it's just one day once, so might be just probing attacks. And that's off. Okay, and the north of Kreminna Front, there is shelling reported at Terny and shelling reported at Shatveropolivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 6th. This one, Terny, is on the 7th. And moving on from the Kreminna Front, we go into the Svatove Front. At the Svatove Front, there is also reports of Ukrainian probing attacks on the 6th at Zaporizhzhia, as well as at Novoselivsky, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, or the group of forces in that region. And south of Novoselivsky, there is fighting, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, as they attack in nearby this region here. And Semakivka, there is also fighting reported here, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And sorry, this is not south. It's actually nearby. It's actually not at Novoselivsky. It's just nearby. This just to correct it. Yeah. Then moving into the Kupyansk Front, we have the probing attack at Pushot-Travneve, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and the rest are all shelling reports by the Russian Defense Ministry. The shelling reported at Kaiserlivka on the 7th, Pershiny on the 4th, Sinkivka on the 7th, Vorishna on the 6th, and Mesetivka on the 6th. And information all coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. And that's all from the Kupyansk Front. And moving into the Zaporizhzhia region. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, we have some changes in the front line. So previously, Stepove and Vishneve has been under dispute. Deep State US mapping actually shows that they are under Russian control. So I've updated the mapping accordingly. And there is shelling reported near Mafopil, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. Shelling is also reported near Zakhine, also on the 6th. So, and that's all from the line itself, at the front line itself. And near Melitopol, according to United 24 media, pro-Ukrainian media, they reported a massive 70-kilometer trench line built by the Russian forces from Melitopol, the north of Melitopol, and it goes all the way to Marinivka. And this line is pretty long. It's actually 70 kilometer long, and this is part of the massive multiple lines of defenses that the Russians have built to prevent or discourage Ukrainian attempt to go south and capture Melitopol, and then break the land corridor between Russia and Crimea. And yeah, this is quite crazy. 70 kilometers long. It's actually captured using satellite imaging, which is why this is being reported. And that's all from the Zaporizhzhia region. And that's all for the summary for the day of 407 to 408. I and Dan Castle, a former US Marine, have gone through the leaked documents. There's 5 documents, 5 pages of the documents that was leaked from the US, NATO, or Ukraine combined ministries or military, and basically detailed a lot of information dated 1 month ago. And so we have gone through it together. It's part of the DPA panels. I have posted it in the DPA's main channel. Do check it out. It's on the screen now. You can press the button to just jump over to watch it. And so the document so far looks very legitimate. It looks like it's likely to be real. The only information that is dubious is actually the casualty numbers, because the one that was shown is actually likely it's actually manipulated. It's not real, but even the actual one is most likely also manipulated by the Ukrainian side, because they cannot actually show the real figure, or they might actually lose support from the West. So just ignore the casualty figures, but everything else seems to be pretty much legitimate. Press the like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed, share it, spam it to everywhere you can, and I'll see you in the next update.